Welcome to step 6. Let's do a quick recap of steps 1 to 5. So now in your master money document, you should have your realistic monthly income, your core essentials, your negotiables, and then the core essentials and your negotiables are added together and taken away from your realistic monthly income to give you your variable cash flow amount. And you should now also have a list of your spending categories or your envelopes. In the previous step, we looked at your variable cash flow and the spending categories that money needs to cover. But of course, your variable cash flow doesn't only cover your weekly spending categories or what we call the envelopes. It will also cover future expenses through your savings categories. And that's what we're covering in this step. This is the easiest step in the whole curriculum. Now, it's really important though, because many of the expenses that create stress around money in general aren't really surprises at all. Birthdays happen every year, Christmas happens every year, vacations, family events, or whatever it is that you are putting your money to for family events, etc. These are all future spending, but they do actually happen regularly. The problem isn't that these things arrive unexpectedly. The problem is that we often don't have a place for that money to go in time or before we actually need it. We certainly didn't, and it got us in a lot of trouble, and this caused many disagreements because holidays and vacations are expensive, even for the tightest of budgeters. So instead of these expenses ending up on credit cards, what we're doing in this step is creating a place for that money before those expenses arise. And I just want to say here that because we're just starting out, it does take a little while for these things to build. So there may still be a little bit of movement between now and say a year's time, where you will have built up enough to actually just go and book these things or do these things and buy the gifts, and the money is there. So we just have to keep that in mind. But for this step, we're going to keep things very simple, and we're going to use these 3 core savings categories: birthdays, Christmas, and vacations. So you may eventually decide to create additional savings categories that are unique to you. But for now, unless there is something that I'm not mentioning that really has to be saved for, then you'll see in the workbook page for this step, you'll see these 3 savings categories in a small list, and you can use them exactly as they are, or if you do have 1 or 2 things that you must put on there, simply add it underneath it, the list of 3 that I've given you. Don't get caught up in making this perfect. Remember, every category will eventually find a home somewhere within your system. We must get you up and running, because while you haven't actually started the whole process, it probably feels a bit clear as mud right now. But once you start using it, you will become familiar with it, and it will start to flow more easily. But in the beginning, it can certainly feel clunky and a bit weird because it's all new and our brains often don't like change. So the goal in this lesson is simply to identify the future expenses that need somewhere to go. So in the next step, we're going to begin deciding how much money goes into all of your categories each week. And that includes both your spending categories or your envelopes and your savings categories. Together, those amounts should account for your total variable cash flow. I'll see you in the next step.